All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the introductory webinar for the Show Me FAFSA Challenge. My name is Kara Oberchrome, and I am the FAFSA Outreach Coordinator for the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. I would like to thank you all for taking time out of your day to join me and learn about this exciting new initiative from MDHEWD. Before we get into the content, I have a few housekeeping items. Everyone has been muted on entry into this webinar. In order to keep disruptions to a minimum, please do not unmute yourself. You can feel free, however, to use the chat function to ask any questions that you have. I will be answering questions at the end of the presentation, so please feel free to drop them in the chat as we go, and I'll get to them at the end. Also, just to note that this webinar is being recorded. It will be posted on our webpage soon, so you can review it later if you would like. So I would like to start us off the challenge info with some context. One of our department's initiatives this year is to increase the number of students who file a FAFSA in Missouri. Completing a FAFSA is key to accessing funding for higher education for many high school seniors. Research shows that students who complete a FAFSA are more likely to attend a 2- or 4-year college or a vocational or technical school. This year, MDHEWD's FAFSA completion target for the whole state is 60%. The class of 2018 had a 56% completion rate, and we built on that with the class of 2019, who had a 59% completion rate. This past year, the senior class of 2020 had about a 54% completion rate. And so this year, we would like to exceed those numbers from 2019 and end the 2020-2021 school year with at least a 60% completion rate from the class of 2021. I know that we can do it, and I'm really hoping that the Show Me FAFSA Challenge can help us in achieving that goal. So what is the Show Me FAFSA Challenge? It is a statewide competition for FAFSA filing that's going to involve all of the public high schools in Missouri, which we're super excited about. We've split the schools into groups, and schools will compete against other schools in their group for prizes in several categories, which I'll get to a bit later. So what does this mean for schools? What does participation look like for those of you working at schools? We'll talk about who's eligible first. Every public high school is automatically eligible and will be tracked in the competition. Like I said, we've split schools into groups. There are 3 of them. The list of schools in each group is available on our website. We understand that there may be some fluctuations in enrollment data throughout the year, so the list that is published on our website right now will be how the groups are divided throughout the competition, regardless of those fluctuations. This is just for consistency and to reduce confusion, especially for those of you that are near those division lines. So here are the groups. Group A will have schools with 0 to 500 students. Group B is schools with 501 to 1,200 students. And Group C is schools with more than 1,200 students. These numbers are for total enrollment at the school. One thing that's important to note, especially for those schools on the smaller end, if your senior class has 5 or fewer students, your school will appear on the challenge tracker once it's posted, but your completion data is going to be masked for data security purposes. You can reach out to me if this affects you. You can reach out to me directly for your numbers, and I can work with you on a solution for accessing that data more consistently throughout the challenge using our high school FAFSA report. And if you have questions about that specifically, I'll be talking about it just a little bit later in the presentation. Also, I highly recommend that if you know that your school's enrollment is around the 500 or 1,200 mark at that edge, that you check out the lists on our webpage just to verify which group you're in. Like I said earlier, the schools in each of these groups will be competing against each other in a few award categories. So I will go over each of those categories now. The first is highest overall completion. So at the end of the competition, the school with the highest FAFSA completion percentage on April 1st of 2021 in each of the groups is going to be the winner in this category. If there is a tie, we will use a random drawing to determine who's the winner between those tied schools. Our second category is most improved completion. So we're going to compare the FAFSA completion percentage from April 1st of 2020 to April 1st of 2021, and the school with the greatest percentage increase in their completion will win in this category. Just like in the previous category, if we have a tie, the winner will be determined by a random drawing between the tied schools. Our third category is the greatest percentage of lowest income students who filed. So this award is going to go to the school that has the highest percentage of their FAFSA filers who are Pell eligible. Just like in previous categories, ties will be broken by doing a random drawing between the tied schools. Our fourth category is a little bit different. It is the most innovative strategy. This is the only category that requires a submission from you. In all other categories, we are automatically collecting that information. Also unique to this category is that you can win this one no matter what your FAFSA completion percentage is. I encourage you to really think outside of the box in what you do this year, and I'm sure that you're already doing that, but just let that creativity flow. Whether you're trying something new for FAFSA outreach this year, or even if you're pulling out those oldies but goodies, take some time to write up what you're doing and submit it to us. I'm really excited to hear what you all are doing to reach the students and families at your schools this year. You can also submit videos, photos, social media screenshots, flyers, and other things in addition to the written description of what you're doing for FAFSA outreach, but those things aren't required. Just they can supplement your submission. Winners in this category will be decided by a panel of judges who are going to review all of the submissions. In addition to the 4 categories of awards, there's also going to be a statewide drawing. Any school that reaches or exceeds our state goal of 60% completion will be entered into this drawing. And schools that reach that goal can also get up to 2 additional entries. And they can do that by participating in the Journey to College program as a registered site coordinator. And they can get a second entry by participating in the FAFSA completion project with a current data sharing agreement on file with us. So I've been talking about the award categories and how to win, but what are the prizes that you're competing for? So winners in each category, in each group, will receive a $750 scholarship. That means that there's going to be a total of 12 scholarship prizes that are awarded. The prize for the statewide drawing is a $1,000 scholarship, and there is only one of those. You may have noticed that the schools are the ones competing for winning prizes, and then the prizes are scholarships. So how does that work? For this competition, the winning schools will be able to award that scholarship to one of their own students. The requirements are that the scholarship recipient must be graduating in 2021 and must attend a Missouri institution in the fall of 2021. And so if the winning school has no seniors that meet those qualifications, the prize will be awarded to the second place school, or we will redo the drawing, whichever one is appropriate. We do recommend that winning schools choose the recipient through a random drawing among the eligible students at their school, but that is not required. If schools want to use a different method, for instance, an essay contest or some other kind of application, that is okay. But the school must share their selection method with MDHEWD. Scholarships will be dispersed directly to the student's institution next fall by our Show Me FAFSA Challenge sponsors, the Missouri Scholarship and Loan Foundation and the Missouri College Access Network. Huge shout out to those organizations. To make that happen, winning schools must send the name, contact information, and institution information of the scholarship recipient to us by June 1st of 2021. This has been a lot of information, and you will probably have questions or want to review it sometime in the future. And to help out with that, we have set up a web page on the MDHEWD website for the Show Me FAFSA Challenge. You can access the web page by visiting dhewd.mo.gov, our main site, then clicking on Planning and Paying for College, then clicking on Counselors and Teachers, and then clicking again on the Show Me FAFSA Challenge. Or you can just type dhewd.mo.gov/FAFSA Challenge into your web browser. I highly recommend bookmarking that page to reference it later. On the page, you'll find the complete Show Me FAFSA Challenge guidelines, which I've been going over today, as well as a link for the most innovative strategy category details and the submission form for that category. Soon, we will also post a recording of this webinar, and also look out for the challenge tracker in late October or early November. We don't know exactly when the tracker will be available. We don't have a date yet because it depends on how quickly we're able to get and process FAFSA data. And since the FAFSA doesn't open until October 1st, there will be a bit of delay in getting those early filing results. So we appreciate your patience and encourage you to keep checking back on that webpage to see when the tracker goes up. Before I move on to answering any questions that you have, I'd like to share some resources with you that can help you in this challenge. The first resource is Journey to College. Some of you are familiar with it already, which is great. By registering your school as a Journey to College site, you have access to free resources from MDHEWD to help you in what you're already doing. Journey to College focuses on supporting efforts by schools to help students apply for college, figure out how to pay for it, and also celebrates their decisions through the 3 programs, Apply Missouri, FAFSA Frenzy, and Decision Day. Especially helpful to the Show Me FAFSA Challenge is FAFSA Frenzy, which is a program that aims to connect students to financial aid experts for individual help on filing their FAFSAs. Our site coordinator resource manual has ideas for events and resources for planning and promoting your FAFSA events, including ideas on how to hold events virtually, which can be especially helpful this year. So check out our Journey to College website at the link on the screen. Or email journeytocollege@dhewd.mo.gov for more information. The second resource I'd like to talk about is the FAFSA Completion Project. This program allows designated staff users to access individual student-level FAFSA filing data via the high school FAFSA report. Users will be able to see if a FAFSA has been successfully submitted, or if it contains an error, is missing a signature, or if a student has been selected for verification. And this really allows for individualized, targeted outreach to students, which can be super helpful. So registering for the FAFSA Completion Project is a district level commitment. The superintendent must file a FAFSA data access agreement with MDHEWD. If you're not sure if your district is registered, or if you have questions about it, or if you would like to get the process started to access this valuable data, you can visit the FAFSA Completion Project page at the link there, or email fafsacompletionproject@dhewd.mo.gov. There we go. To wrap up, now that we've covered the guidelines and the details of the Show Me FAFSA Challenge, here's a timeline for the whole competition. So the challenge begins on October 1st when the FAFSA opens, and then in late October or early November, the challenge tracker will be added to the web page. Then from October 1st to April 1st, really just get students to file their FAFSAs. February 1st is on this timeline because it is the priority deadline for state aid. So encouraging students to file by February 1st is ideal for them to maximize their financial aid opportunities. And then April 1st is the state aid deadline at the end of the challenge. In late April or early May, we will announce the winners of the challenge. And then scholarship recipient information is due June 1st, and the funds will be dispersed in July or August. I would like to give a quick, huge shout out to the FAFSA Completion Advisory Group. This group met virtually in May and June and was instrumental in getting this challenge going and figuring out how we were going to do this in Missouri. And I cannot thank the participants enough for being a part of it. So now I would like to open up for questions. And if you didn't have a chance to ask your questions earlier, now is the time to drop those questions in the chat. Okay, first questions. Are private schools eligible to participate? So since this is the first year that we are doing this competition, we are limiting it to public schools. So no, private schools are not eligible. We may look into expanding that in future years, but for this year, it's only public schools. I guess one other thing to mention about the private schools is we automatically receive FAFSA filing information for public schools, but not for the private schools. And so the monitoring of the FAFSA data has some other challenges to it that we were not able to work through for this school year. So that's why that is being delayed potentially for the future. Are there any other questions? I'm not seeing any others in the chat. All right, if there are no more questions, I think that that concludes our time for today's webinar. I hope that you all feel ready for this challenge, and if you have more questions that come up that you didn't want to ask today or just that you think of later, please feel free to contact me directly. My contact information is on the slide here. And I look forward to seeing how everyone does in the Show Me FAFSA challenge.